Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
It's his farewell tour of Europe, but Barack Obama was keen to use his last appearance alongside the German Chancellor Angela Merkel to put down a marker for his successor, warning Donald Trump to be ready to stand up to Russia if needed. Speaking in Berlin, the president said that Mrs. Merkel had been his closest international partner during their years in office. Our foreign affairs correspondent Jonathan Rugman has this report.
In downcast Berlin, they are bidding farewell to a liberal president on his swan song trip to an increasingly less liberal Europe. Barack Obama says Angela Merkel is his closest international partner. By contrast, Donald Trump's closest ally in Europe is probably Nigel Farage. And Germany's Chancellor is surely desperate for this president's intelligence on what his successor might do next. As Ukraine test fires brand new missiles, the Germans and the Americans are trying to preserve an uneasy truce with Russia. But they're worried a Trump administration will put sanctions against Moscow into reverse. In Syria, where scores were killed in airstrikes today, they wonder if Mr. Trump will take a less tough line against Russia as well. But if Mr. Obama was trying to reassure his German ally, it also sounded as if he was trying to change his successor's mind before it's too late.
My hope is that the president-elect coming in takes a similarly constructive approach, finding areas where we can cooperate with Russia, where our values and interests align, but that the president-elect also is willing to stand up to Russia where they are deviating from our values and international norms.
Flashback to 2008. Mr. Obama, then a rock star presidential candidate, wooing Berlin in the mold-breaking footsteps of President Kennedy.
It was 8 years ago. I had no gray hair.
Chancellor Merkel was in power back then as now, and you sense today that it wasn't just her allies' hair which couldn't be replaced.
This is the end of an 8-year cooperation that was very close indeed. We have shared those values, we continue to share those values, and obviously we will continue to cooperate with the new administration. But today, I think a word of gratitude is at hand. Thank you very much for this very close, very intensive cooperation.
Mrs. Merkel may announce in the next few days that she will run again for a 4th term next year. 4 million more Germans are now in work than 11 years ago. And from Mr. Obama, this outspoken endorsement.
Yeah, if I were here and I were German and I had a vote, I might support him. But I don't know whether that hurts or helps.
Yet thousands of migrants and refugees continue to flock to Europe's shores. Over 400 disembarked in this Italian port yesterday, and Germany's leader risks paying a political price for opening her country's doors. In Austria, Norbert Hofer may become the EU's first far-right head of state in a rerun of presidential elections early next month.
Whenever
the elites distance themselves from voters, he said yesterday, then those elites will be voted out of office. And who would rule out the chances of Marine Le Pen? The Front National leader launched her campaign for French president this week, buoyed first by Brexit and then by Donald Trump. I'm convinced the French people will follow in Britain and America's footsteps, she said, before asking what is the point of NATO. From Mr. Obama today, there was this warning and rebuke to the UK for leaving the EU.
I reiterated our hope that negotiations over the United Kingdom's exit from the EU will be conducted in a smooth and orderly and transparent fashion. The EU remains one of the world's great political and economic achievements, and that those achievements should not be taken for granted.
I remain optimistic for the world's direction, he said. But these torchbearers for liberal, globalised, open border democracy know that in many places the arguments are not going their way.
Jonathan Rugman reporting there.
I've been getting away with it all my